Hey everyone, happy to have you here with me once again. Welcome back. Today, as you can see in the title, I'm going to be doing a video that I have seen quite a bit around in my YouTube feed, and that is randomly selecting, in my case, 5 palettes and letting you know if I will repurchase them now in case I lost them, if I haven't purchased it in the moment that I did, and that kind of stuff. Hayleigh was the first person that I saw doing this video, so I'll leave her channel down in the description box. But I also saw Laura doing it, and Kathy, I think her name is Catherine, and she did it the way that I'm going to do it, where she randomly selected 5 palettes instead of randomizing in camera or asking someone else to choose palettes. I decided to do it myself because I asked my boyfriend to help me with this video a while ago, and then I forgot, and now I want to film it, so I decided to just select out of camera the palettes that we're going to be talking today. I would like to do this kind of video kind of frequently because I feel like it's a good exercise, and maybe it will help me to think my purchases through a little bit more before doing my next purchase. And a spoiler alert, I made an impulse purchase from 2 palettes yesterday, and I don't regret it, but I know I shouldn't. But yeah, in this video we're going to have a lot of Colourpop because I have way too much Colourpop in my collection, but I feel like we have a good selection. So I'm sorry if you will have preferred to watch with me while I was randomly selecting the palettes. I used the Pretty Random app. I selected a number, went to my eyeshadow list and see which number corresponds to which palette. And now I'm here sitting with you talking about what I'm going to do or what I did. So yeah, let's talk about the first palette that I got. And the first one was my Naked WildWest from Urban Decay. I was really tempted to collect all of the Naked palettes starting from Naked Honey. I was able to control myself for quite a long time, but then, sorry.
A few moments later.
As I was saying, then at the beginning of this year, I think it was, I wasn't able to resist anymore because they were in a really good sale, and I purchased the Naked WildWest, the Ultraviolet, and the Cyber palettes. And I have to admit that I haven't used them as much as I would like to, but it's kind of funny for me that this palette rolled in this video, because just yesterday I used it because I had a dream that I was using this palette and it broke. So I don't know, I just wake up feeling like using it. I create a really nice look that I really enjoy. I'll leave a picture over here. But I have to say, I think I will repurchase this palette. I don't know if I will repurchase the rest of the palettes. Maybe yeah, probably yeah. But this palette has something that really calls me. It has a mix of cool tones and not really warm tones, but a little bit more like neutral leaning mattes, but it has some really fun pops of color. And the formula in some of these shimmers is different than other shimmers that I have seen in Urban Decay. Just yesterday I used the shade Hold Them, and I noticed, I think it was the first time that I used that shade, and I noticed that it was a little bit more flaky but a little bit more special than other shimmers that Urban Decay than other metallics that Urban Decay has in its palette. It has a little bit more glitter, a little bit more texture. It was a really nice shade. I feel like I didn't apply it the way that I would like to, but I wasn't expecting that kind of shade in this palette. So yeah, it's a really nice color story. I really like the packaging too. It's something that I want to use even more, and I think in summer this palette it's going to be perfect. So yeah, this first palette I will repurchase. Moving on, we have our first Colourpop palette, and that was the Limoncello palette. And surprise, surprise, no one is surprised. This is a palette that I have only used it once or twice since I got it. It's quite new in my collection. I purchased it because it was like 50-70% off in its website at some point. And I have to say that again, this is a palette that I really like. I haven't used it that much, but the time that I use it, I create a look that I was super happy about. It's a really nice color story. It has some shimmers that are really pretty, especially these two, and this one is peasy. It's just amazing. I really enjoy it. The only thing that I will change is the blue. I know it makes the palette look more interesting, and maybe because of that blue, it's why I first noticed this palette. But it's not a color that I enjoy. I have that kind of shade, so I have had it in my collection plenty of times, and I just don't like how it looks. I don't like how it performs in my eyes. But yeah, as a general, I will repurchase this palette, and again, it's a palette that I would really love to use in summer. Another Colourpop palette, and we have my High Tide palette from Colourpop. This is a teal palette, and it's so pretty. Every time that I look at it, I feel amazed by these colors. These kind of colors are my favorite colors in my life, like blues and teals, light blues and aqua colors. I just loved, but I don't use it in my eyes. So even if it's super pretty to look at, I want makeup in my collection that I actually want to apply in my eyeballs, not just to look at it and have it in my drawers collecting dust. And I have like this fantasy that I was going to use this palette when I went to the beach, but I haven't gone to the beach in a really long time. And the times that I have gone, I haven't even touched this palette. So yeah, this is not a palette that I will repurchase. Now that I have it, I'm happy to have it because it's pretty. I like to look at it. But moving forward, I only want to have and buy palettes that I'm going to use. Now that I already have it, I don't want to get rid of it or anything. But I don't want to do that kind of purchases anymore. And we have way too much Colourpop in this video. Maybe I'll roll in a 6 palette to see if we get something that is not Colourpop, because the last 2 palettes that I need to talk about are also from Colourpop. And let's start talking about the Uh-Huh-Honey palette, the monochromatic yellow palette. I'm missing a shade, I know, but it's in my A through Z project pan. This palette was one of the first palettes that I got from Colourpop. I bought the Dream Big Bold that has 6 of the monochromatic palettes. And I have to say, this is one of the palettes that I like the most out of the Bold. I will say this one and the It's My Pleasure palette are my favorite. But I don't know if I will repurchase it. Or yes, or no. I don't know. I feel like this palette has some really special yellows. This shade over here, let me give you a swatch. It's so freaking pretty. It's a yellow, but has kind of a blue shift. I don't know if you can see it. It's really pretty, but it has some goldens that I don't enjoy. Has a glitter that I don't use. I have pan on it, but I use it in my nails, and I don't do that anymore. I don't know if I will repurchase this. Like, if this will be a 6-pan palette and it will only have these shades, I think I will repurchase it. But with the golden, the yellow golden, the shimmer, the glitter, I don't know. In Queen Bee, this golden over here, it's really pretty. Yeah, it's pretty. But it's nothing special on my collection. I think I will not purchase it. Also because even if this is a really nice palette, and as I said, out of the 6 palette that I got at that time in the Bold from Colourpop, this is my second favorite. I don't use it enough. I like yellows, but are really hard for me to use. Some of the shades are kind of dry, so they don't work as well as I would like to, so I will say I wouldn't purchase this either. Oh god. Okay, and the last palette that we're going to talk about today is my Going Coconut palette, again from Colourpop. This palette, I don't know. Again, I'm missing a shade is missing, but it's in the same project, so I have it somewhere else. Will I repurchase this? I have to say that the main reason why I wanted this palette is because of this shade, that cocoa, and I don't know if I have used it since I got it. It's a nice palette. I thought I was going to say that I will repurchase this because it's a really nice palette. I actually got one for my mom because I feel like it's a super like day-to-day palette that you can create so many basic but pretty looks with. But considering the size of my collection, I don't know if I will repurchase it. I want to say yes because I really like it, but I don't use it. But if I apply that reasoning, I wouldn't repurchase a lot of my collection because a lot of it I don't use. But there's something different between, for example, these two palettes. I also almost don't use this palette, but I will 100% repurchase this one. Not so sure about this one. Ugh. Okay, I'm going to say that I wouldn't repurchase it because I have way too many colors similar in my collection. Lately, I've been discovering other formulas that I prefer a little bit. And maybe this is way too monochromatic. Maybe I will like it a little bit more if it will have other shades. Maybe if I mix these two palettes, I will get a palette that I will repurchase. Like some neutrals with a pop of teal. Pretty much what this palette is. Maybe that way I will repurchase it. But yeah, I was expecting this to happen. I wasn't expecting not to want to repurchase this one or this one. This one a little bit more. I wasn't sure, but I was quite sure that I was going to repurchase in this imaginary world. Okay, it's crazy. Okay, so out of the 5 palettes that we got today, I will only repurchase these 2 and I wouldn't repurchase these other 3. It wasn't intentional to like hold them up this way. I just grabbed the palettes, but some way I got the palettes that I won't repurchase here and the ones that I will over here. But yeah, that's everything. Let me know if you have any of these palettes, if you feel kind of the same. Will you repurchase these if you have them? Let me know, I'm really interested. But yeah, that's everything for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please consider subscribing. I'll give it a thumbs up because that will help a lot to my channel. And that's all, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye!